In the last video, we learned the absolute PPP theory. If the assumption of absolute PPP theory are relaxed, we observe relative purchasing power parity. This idea is that PPP is not particularly helpful in determining what the spot rate is today, but that the relative change in prices between countries over a period of time determines the change in exchange rates. Moreover, if the spot rate between two countries starts in equilibrium, any change in the differential rate of inflation between them tends to be offset over the long run by an equal but opposite change in the spot rate. Relative PPP can be expressed with the formula as such: delta S equals ST plus 1 minus ST over ST equals pi T minus pi Tf, where ST plus 1 and ST respectively indicates spot rates expressed in direct quotation of next term and current term. Delta S indicates the rate of appreciation of home currency against foreign currency. Pi T, pi Tf indicates respectively inflation rate of domestic and foreign countries. In the picture, the vertical axis shows the percentage change in the spot exchange rate for foreign currency, and the horizontal axis shows the percentage differences in expected rate of inflation, foreign relative to home country. The diagonal parity line shows the equilibrium position between a change in the exchange rates and relative inflation rates. For instance, point P represents an equilibrium point, where inflation in the foreign country, Japan, is 4% lower than in the home country. Therefore, relative PPP would predict that yen would appreciate by 4% per annum with respect to the home currency. To express the theory with formula, it will be like this. From the picture, the abscissor of P is pi Tf minus pi T equals negative 4%. The ordinates of P is ST plus 1 minus ST over ST equals 4%. The absolute value of the abscissor and the absolute value of ordinates of P should be the same. So we get ST plus 1 minus ST over ST equals pi T minus pi Tf, which is the relative PPP theory. Here is an example. If the one-year inflation rate in America reaches 6% and the inflation rate in British is 13%, then how the exchange rate of British pound and US dollar will change? It is a mini calculation. Let's put down the known inflation with mathematical symbol. Known pi US dollar equals 6%, pi British pound equals 13%. The question is to ask us to calculate delta S dollar exchange for pound. The answer should be delta S dollar exchange for pound should equal to pi US dollar minus pi pound equals to 6% minus 13% equals to negative 7%. The meaning of the result is that the pound will depreciate by 7% with respect to dollar. Okay, now we have learned the series of absolute PPP and relative PPP. Absolute PPP is the theory about how the exchange rate is determined by the price level of two countries, while relative PPP is about the linkage between relative inflation and the change of exchange rate. Empirical tests of both the absolute and relative version of PPP and the law of one price show that, for the most part, the theories tend to be not accurate in predicting future exchange rates. General conclusions can be drawn from the test. Absolute PPP holds up well over long term, but is poor for short term, since PPP theory is a kind of market mechanism, and it takes time to adjust the prices and exchange rates. Relative PPP holds better for countries with relatively high rates of inflation. The relative PPP theory mirrors the change of spot rate between two countries with their relative inflation rates. It's clear that the higher inflation rates are, the more correct the index will be. Absolute and relative PPP holds better for underdeveloped capital markets. PPP theory comes from one law price. We already have known that the law is a theory about how to determine the spot rate with good prices, when not considering the influence on spot rate by the capital flows. In this video, we learned the relative PPP theory, different from absolute PPP theory, which is to decide the level of exchange rate between two currencies with the price level of the two countries. Relative PPP is a theory about the relationship between the percentage change in the spot exchange rate for foreign currency and the percentage difference in expected rates of inflation, foreign relative to home country. That's all for the section. Thank you.